What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Knives of the Round Table, and this time we're talking fixed blades. Now, with fixed blades, it's a little bit harder to do a ranking because, as a difference to folders, the range of sizes it's much higher, right? And the use, the use that you're going to use a micro for or a TRC Apocalypse for is very different. Because if you take as a Benchmade or an XM18 or a Para 2, all of those knives have the same use, and you can choose what the best knife is because they all have the same use. But the use that you have for this one or this one or this one are very different. So it's in fixed blades, it's much more appropriate to do like categories, but then you have to draw the line somewhere, and this is just a very gradual line. So where do you establish large blades or medium blades or smaller blades? It's very hard to do. So hopefully I can whittle down here to 4 or 5 choices that I think will accomplish most tasks. But it is harder with a fixed blade because even I don't think they get much smaller than the micro here, but they definitely get much bigger than the TRC Apocalypse, right? You start getting into longer buoys, you start getting into machetes, and then obviously I guess storage are technically fixed blades. But for my uses, that's probably the largest one I need. So I'm gonna try and whittle it down to 4 or 5 choices. I'm gonna start, getting rid of some of these, and hopefully it'll get you an idea of some knives that are good. So the first one I'm gonna kind of get rid of is one of the ones that falls right in the middle here, and this is the Phobos Tier 1 Mini. And this, it's hard for me to get rid of because the ergonomics are really, really good. Okay, and it's hard when it's a medium blade, because medium blades you feel like you can use for a lot of things, right? The more versatile blades are gonna fall like right in this range. But I think, so the blade on this one is 154 cm, and I think out of all of these, I think this might, it's one of the worst steels. It's still pretty good steel, but I think, as compared to the other ones, and I think there's just other knives that are better. Although I do recommend this one, especially ergonomically. So if you like it, I do think it's a good knife. Obviously, it's part of my collection. This one was designed by Phobos. I think it's manufactured by Bark River, or they used to be. They just did another run of the Mini and the Tier 1 of the regular one. So this is kind of the first one that's gonna go. And when I talk about these fixed blades, I'm gonna talk about the most kind of readily available. I have a couple that were given to me. These are more kind of custom pieces that are really, really good, but I don't think you can get them. So this was a gift. This was a gift from my family, and this one from Villar is actually particularly good. The only thing that I don't like very much is this rough kind of Cerakoting that they did. Because it's hard to keep clean. Oils and stuff just get on it, and it's hard to, I like to maintain my tools, and this one is a little bit harder to keep clean just because of this. I don't know if you can tell, but it's got like a rough surface. So, and this one was given to me by my family at a knife show, and it's really good, but I don't even know where you would get one of these. So the next one that we're gonna get rid of is the Hindered Ranch. Now, if you know, I'm a big fan of Rick Hinder, and I've got however many XM18s. I think they do a really good job, and I think this design it's really, really good. The only thing I don't like very much are the ergonomics. Okay, for whatever reason, that the ergonomics of this knife just don't fit my hand. It's a little bit squarish back here, and I've done, as you can see, I've used it, but 3V steel, still pretty sharp. and I think the ergonomics are just not very good. I think he started to do another batch of fixed plates that I think he focused on the ergonomics, and I think that's very good, because the only thing that I don't like about this one is the ergonomics. And ergonomics start to play a larger part in fixed plates because you're going to use them for harder tasks. So if you're going to put more weight on it, if you're going to put more force into your cuts, then it better have a more comfortable ergonomic handle. Now we start getting into painful choices, right? And the next one I think that I'm gonna get rid of is this one. Look, I love this knife. I mean, it's cute, right? It's a tiny ship's foot. It's M390 by Lion Steel. It's the Micro with a K, and I think it's a perfect knife for box cutting, right? For opening boxes. That's kind of its perfect use. A lot of people use it as a neck knife, and it comes with this sheath that that has a magnet, and you can see the hole. You can dangle it. But I don't like things hanging off of my neck. I see a lot of people carry neck knives. I just don't. And there's not a lot of stuff that you can do with a knife this big. So if I'm just gonna whittle it down, I think I need more versatility than this tiny guy can offer. Although, I mean, just look at it: carbon fiber, blue, anodizing, M390 blade. It's just a beautiful knife. I just use it for opening boxes. Now the next one that's gonna go is this quiet carry. I can't remember the exact name of this one, but the steel on this one is LC200N, and the ergonomics are a little bit, the handle's a little bit small for my hand. I kind of wrap all the way around it, and I like it a lot, but it fits a very specific niche in my collection, where I use it in the instances that I'm going to go to somewhere that's very humid and very wet. Okay, it's LC200N, and that's a high corrosion resistance steel. But I think a lot of these knives are better for overall uses, especially outdoor type stuff, because this one is much thinner. It's a much slicier blade. It's more well used for lighter tasks and for food prep or stuff like that. I mean, obviously, if you take a look at that, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a far more robust blade. This is just thinner. So I like to have this for specific uses, but it fills a very specific niche. So this one is gonna have to go. The next knife that's gonna go is the Tops Windrunner. Now, there's the small version that's called the Windrunner, and there's the larger version that is more of like this size or that size. That's called the Windrunner Snake River Edition. You can see there, I don't know if you can tell, Snake River Edition. And this fits my 3 fingers just perfectly. And the only thing that I don't like about this one, and the reason it's going, is this recurve right here. I sharpen my knives with a fixed system, a half-stone system, and you can't sharpen this except by hand, and I'm just not very good at sharpening by hand. So because I know that I'm going to struggle to sharpen it, I don't use it very much. And I generally don't like to keep knives that I'm just not going to use all that much. And if I'm afraid to sharpen a knife, then what's the point, right? So this is high quality, the same as all of Tops knives are really well made. 1095 steel, which scrapes a ferro rod very well. It lights for lighting fires, but this one's a little bit small, and the recurve is just something that I don't want to, that I struggle to deal with, for my knives. The next one that I'm gonna, get rid of is the Reeve Pacific. And I can see my son cringing. This is his favorite knife of my entire collection. He said it numerous times. And as you can see, it's been well used, well loved. But the problem with the Reeve Pacific for me is the steel. This is S35BN, and Chris Reeve helped develop S35BN. It's a very robust, probably 1/4 inch blade. But S35BN it's much better suited for folders that are gonna see lighter use. Because when you have a blade this big and that thick, and with this design, it's going to be used for harder use tasks. You're not going to be gentle with a knife like this, and S35EN is just not well equipped for that, in my opinion. Now, obviously, it's my word against legendary knife maker Chris Reeve, but in my personal use, and you can see I've used it, I think that S35EN is probably not a great choice. A lot of these other ones, 3Vs, Crewwares, those kinds of things are much better choices, in my opinion. And this is a great knife. If I look at it, it's a beautiful design. It fits your hand like a glove, with this thumb ram right here, and you can choke up, for finer tasks. It's a great design. The ergonomics are awesome. The fit and finish is legendary, as all of Chris Reeve knives are. But I think that in this case, the choices of S35EN is just not the greatest. I think if they could have done, a 3V steel would be probably a much better choice for this knife. Now we're getting down to the, what are we, top 6 right now. And I think the next one I'd get rid of is the Benchmade Adamus. And yeah, it's been oiled, as you can tell. And the Adamus is another knife that fills a specific use. This is very light, because first for example, it's thinner than something like this, but also because the handle is made out of this paracord that I put on myself. They give you, I think, a green one or a tan one. I decided to use blue for this, but it's a zebra design, and if you've ever seen the Adamus or the mini Adamus, they have a folding version of this, and you can see their resemblance. But if I'm backpacking, then this is a great choice because it's very light. It comes with a nice Kydex seat that I can attach to anything I want. And it's Crewwear. Oh my God, it's Crewwear, and I love Crewwear as a steel. I think it holds an edge. I think it's really good for my uses, at least in my testing. But I think the handle's not very comfortable, right? As you might expect. It's just a layer of paracord. So for some of my uses, whenever weight is paramount, then this will do the trick. But for everything else, I prefer something with a more comfortable handle than this. And then we're done to these. And I think the next one that I'd get rid of is the Winkler Knives field knife. And I think, look, Winkler knives are one of my favorite knives. This is also a Winkler knife. And they're my favorite because, well, first, look, they're using ADCR V2, okay? And please know that ADCR V2 is not your HCR Teen 12 MOV or whatever that steel is. This is a different steel. But what I think Winkler does particularly well is the heat treatment of his blades. You see, for a typical knife, the heat treat is done when the blank, with the knife blank, is still flat, when they haven't ground the blade yet. You know, this flat grind or the secondary bevel. Most knife makers will heat treat on the flat. You know, when they do the outline of the knife on a flat blank, they heat treat and then they grind it. And the reason they do that is because there's a tendency of steel to warp during heat treat. And but the problem is that if you heat treat the flat blank and then you grind it, some of the properties, the hardness of the steel that you're getting, is lost in the grinding process. Now what Winkler does, he does the grind first and then the heat treat, and they discard any knife that is warped. So there's a certain amount of quality that comes from that. And I've sharpened a lot of knives. Okay, you know, if you can see this LMAX blade has a mirror edge. This S35EN has a mirror edge, and I've done a number of other knives that have a mirror edge on it. And I can tell you that it's very hard to sharpen this one because the heat treat is really good. Now I think this one's a little thin for such a larger knife, and that's why it's going. But I want to say that Winkler knives just are such beautiful, well-made knives from a master bladesmith, and I highly recommend them. This one's a little thin for its size. I think I would prefer it to be, because if I use it for batoning or chopping, I need a little bit more weight or a little bit more thickness in this case. Now, I do want to say something. The sheaths for Winkler knives, I think, are the best in the world. Okay, he does something that nobody else does. First, you have this clip that you can rotate and do scout carry or vertical carry. Okay, or you can attach to your pack. So you have that. You have leather on the outside, which gives it a more classical look. But it's a sandwich thing, because you have leather on the outside and then you have kydex, and then it's lined on the inside. So you get all of the retention from kydex, okay? But you get the look of leather, but you get the clip, and you don't get that clicky, plasticky feel when you insert your knife into the sheath. You don't get any of that. And so I think Winkler does the best sheaths in the world. And I think I would settle on these 4 knives as kind of, you know, the best knives in my collection for their uses. Now these 2, they kind of fall under the same use, but I just think both of them are great knives. Again, this is the Winkler General. It's light, and you know, I've put a mirror edge on this one, and it's just so easy to cut with, to handle. You know, if I'm doing smaller tasks, this is the one that I reach for. This is an exclusive for the Mass General store, and their customer service is incredible. Okay, by the way, these guys, they did such a good job in getting me this knife. It's amazing. The handle has like this topo engraving on it. It's walnut. Again, this is ADCR V2. I think all of Winkler knives are made in that steel. But I don't know if you can tell this jimping. It has like these grooves, and then this circular divots, and then you have them back here, and then in case you want to do something, you know, a fine tip up here in the front. It's fits your hand perfectly. It's a, you know, I wear size L gloves, and this just fits my hand very well, and it's a really fast blade. Now my favorite fixed blade is the Chris Reeve knife. Niala, I don't think they're making this right now. I'm hoping that they start making it again. This is the drop point. There's a sheep's foot version of this, and this is, again, is 35 yen. I wish it was done in different steel, but as a difference to the Pacific, the hard use of this one is not going to be the hard use of this one. This one is more of a chopper batoning kind of knife for me, and this one's a finer task. So this one doesn't bother me as much that is as 35 yen. So it's a good steal, and I think for this knife it's a much better choice. Now, I don't know if you've seen my 3 knives for life video, and I'll link it if I can. But I chose this one as my, if I can only keep one fixed blade, because I think this is a more versatile knife in my collection. Okay, it's thick, robust, it's got a 3V blade. This is the Bark River Squad Leader. The ergonomics on Bark River knives are some of the ones that fit my hand the best, and I think it's a medium-sized blade that can do a little bit of chopping, a little bit of batoning, a little bit of a finer task. So all around, I think this is the best knife all around. And if I could only keep one for the rest of my life, that's the one I chose. And then for larger, bigger tasks, this is the TRC Apocalypse. This has the apocalyptic finish, and I love the apocalyptic finish because whatever you do to it, you know, the more scars it has, the more apocalyptic it looks, right? So it was already apocalyptic, and all you do with more use, this is an Elmax blade, and I put a mirror edge on it because I can. And for larger tasks, like I said, for chopping and batoning, this is the one. This is the one that I would go with. So there you have it. I managed to whittle down my entire collection to these 4 knives. Depending on what you're going to use them for. If you only do smaller tasks, then I would recommend these 2. If you're looking for a good all-arounder for, you know, a lot of outdoor type stuff, I would recommend this one. And if most of your tasks are, you know, larger heavy-duty things, I would highly recommend the TRC Apocalypse. Now, generally, if I go camping or if I'm going out, you know, to the woods or something, I carry 2 of these, like this one and this one, or this one and this one, like a large knife and a small knife. I typically carry 2 knives in my kit because, you know, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And so, but I generally, these are the ones that I reach for the most, unless I have a very specific task, like I'm going, you know, to the beach, or I know I'm gonna get wet, you know. So in that case, I probably substitute these for one of those. So there you have it, guys. An overview, a ranking of fixed blades in my collection. So if you enjoyed it, if you think I earned it, just hit like, subscribe, and until I see you again, take care.